Oh, boy.
Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capes and lunatics. Hope to see you there.
I get so much right.
That's right, everyone. Welcome back. You know what time it is.
Yeah, I get so much right. I love it.
And he'll tell you why. That's right, kids. Welcome back to the Third Best Southgate. It's me, Phil. It's Lilith. And, of course, the man who put South in Southgate. It is Mr. Robert Southgate.
That's right. Oh, I get to share it to my pages. Let me go share that right now. And is it shared to Third Best Southgate, or are we really bad at this?
I only get to share to so many places, Robert.
You know, okay, I got to share it to Third Best Southgate. And Phil, do you share it to any of your pages, or are we just talking here?
No, I share it to my pages.
I'm kidding. Oh, wow, understated intelligence would be Phil.
Hello, Noel. It's Saturday morning. It must be rough.
All right. Well, we'll see if all my sharing worked. I shared it a couple of places. You know where else I should share it? Now that we're sharing, let's all get together and share. I'm going to actually share it to Southgate Media Group. Because guess what? We have a new network.
That's right.
I'm on this.
You missed the last episode.
I'm on this, but that doesn't mean it's not going to share on Southgate Media Group.
They're our extended family.
That's right. Okay, let me see if I can find it. There it is. And there's the lovely Lilith and the not very punctual Phil.
Oh.
There we go. All right, I shared it everywhere. We'll see what happens.
Everybody's child can't be a boss child and run things like Robert.
All right, who's Noel? Noel Tate. Already giving me crap. Saturday morning must be Rob, and I'm going to take that as giving me crap. Hey, Noel, thanks for joining us.
It's okay. It just means you're one of the Capes and Lunatics.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been, was it a month ago that we did this?
Yeah, basically, right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's a full month.
Like 3 weeks.
So I originally was going to have a guest this week. So I'm helping. Actually, I got to step back even further. 5 years ago, Molly and I were in a movie. And it's a faith-based movie. It's called For Profit. Now, don't let that scare you off if you're like, oh, no, Kirk Cameron. It's not. It's more like, oh, God, right? Which is funny, and, it's not like, hey, God, right?
So they said we need a George Burns type, and they thought of Rob, right?
Right. So we were both in the movie as actors, and then as extras, Chris, I don't have the puppet, but Chris from the Blue Box Cafe, and Alil from the Hair Club for Men. We're both extras in it.
He's not just a client; he's the club president.
That's right. He's the club insurance guy. So they were both in it as well. So, and it was also partially shot in the Blue Box Cafe. Hey, Sarah! Woo! Love Sarah. So it was partially shot in Blue Box. So technically, this movie is as close as you get to a Live at the Blue Box movie. If I could have gotten Maeve in it, but she didn't want to, she's like, I don't want to do it. It would have been the entire cast of the regular cast of Live at the Blue Box. How cool would that have been?
Yeah.
So, movie got a distributor. It got great reviews. It did all these different festivals, secular and faith-based. Won a bunch of stuff, and hooty hoo, Sarah. Since they got their thing, they're doing a red carpet June 12th in Elgin, which is where this was shot. And then the 21st, it actually comes out. So if there's a theater near you showing it, go see it, because you need as many butts in seats on the Friday and Saturday of the movie in order to give it a chance to go into the next week, right? It's a regular release. Unless you're Marvel, where they go, we're going to book it for 3 weeks, and then we'll see. This type of movie, they book 1 week at a time, and Friday and Saturday are the whole game.
Do you know which theater chains, or is it just random depending on your city?
Yeah, random depending on your city. Anybody can reach out to me though, and I can tell you if there's a theater near them. For us, right now it's only showing in one theater as of right now, but there are 10 theaters in the area that are all saying like, yeah, we want to do it. We just haven't inked the deal. And this is kind of across the country. There are places that do that. And here's the reason. They like to kind of wait until the week before, 2 weeks before to make a commitment like that because they don't know. What if Marvel's is coming back to theaters and people are rushing to see this incredible piece of art and it blocks up their theaters?
Adam Webb.
Yeah, Bad Boys 3 and Madam Web are going to clog up that theater. Yeah, that would be a real slap in the face, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So are these more like art
There was
house
no
theaters?
rim shot for that, huh?
So is this more like art house theaters or just
No. We're in AMC.
Okay.
Is where right now the first one is an AMC, but then around Chicago there's 6 other AMCs that have all said they want to do it, and then Marcus Theaters. I don't know if you have those. That's where our red carpet is, and then they've said, yeah, this makes sense for us to do it. So some theaters show indie films.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an art house theater. You know, like AMC, the one at the mall over here doesn't really show them. You know, they'll put 10 versions of Wonka in there before they'll ever show an indie film. But the one out here by us will show foreign films, indie films, and Bad Boys 3 to an empty house.
Do you have beef with Will Smith and Martin we need to know about?
You know what? I liked the first movie. The second movie, not.
Well, it came out like 30 years later. So
but yeah, but now they're doing it again, and I'm like, oh man.
Will Smith's getting smacked.
You know, Martin had a stroke and he needs to pay his medical bill, so I'm gonna go see it. Like, I'm not even being like funny about it. I feel like that's why he had to do it.
I can understand that. And I do. I actually, Bad Boys 2 was really good. It's been so long. I just don't care. And Will Smith,
that's corporate greed for you.
The bloom is off the rose with Will Smith. Sorry. Sarah, you could ask questions. This is just like the other show, only way less. I guess you could say
super casual.
I have questions.
What's up, Phil?
Okay. Well, my 2 questions. One, are you going to?
So anyway, to finish my other thought, I'm doing marketing for profit. Go ahead, Phil.
Which thoughts? All right. Wait till you finish your thought. We're gonna be all day. Now, 1, are you gonna be walking the red carpet? And 2, will you be buying a new bathrobe? Yeah.
Oh my God! If I could do the bathrobe. Oh
my Lord! He's gonna go in a bathrobe. He's gonna go in a bathrobe for comfort, and everyone's gonna think he's like, cosplaying as Jesus or something.
Right. Hey, God morning. I'm here. No, actually, we threw out summer robe because it was so like it had bleach stains, and we had to throw out summer robe. So I don't have one right now. So
perfect excuse, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a summer robe again. I have songs for it. Summer robe makes me feel fine. I live in a robe, as you guys know, but right now the robes are way too warm for this time of year. So
thank you, global warming.
Yeah. Yep. Should have listened to Al Gore to keep the robe industry alive.
Don't say his. You can't even say his name once. He's worse than Beetlejuice. Please don't.
Phil's the guy with the little head in for Beetlejuice, right?
Oh, well, are you interested? Well, speaking of movies that came out, sequels that came out too late, are you even interested in Beetlejuice 2?
I am. Are you? Here's the deal.
I'm curious.
The cartoon was the best version of Beetlejuice. I will not be taking questions. So if they wanted to do a follow up to that, the movie is a little too late for me.
Here's the deal. When I saw it way back when it first came out, I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. And everyone was like in love with this movie. And I was like, it's okay. And I really liked things in it. And I liked people in it, but it just didn't connect with me. Later on, watching it later, I ended up really liking it. And was like, oh, this is great. When they announced the sequel, I'm like, not interested. But then I've seen some things in the trailers that made me go, I'm not going to a theater to watch it, but I'm definitely going to watch it when it's on cable.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that honestly, that's how I became kind of obsessed as a kid with Beetlejuice. It was always on HBO when I was a kid. And then it was so weird because the cartoon came out like so long after, and it was like actually around that time when they were playing it on cable all the time, so it kind of was just like this perfect little ball of synergy.
I mean,
And I can literally quote that movie from beginning to end. But I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so sad we have to do this. Like, I just want original IP. It's nothing against that.
I'm
It's
with
just the
you.
fact that I want some original IP.
I'm with
Like
you.
Fall Guy did bad at the box office, and I'm just so annoyed. I've been so annoyed the whole time.
Yeah. I know Sarah has a book coming out that is original IP. So Sarah, I want to see what you've got going much more than I want to see Beetlejuice.
Oh, what genre does she write in?
Sarah, why don't you share in there?
Okay, while we're waiting, because there will be a delay. Yeah, the original Beetlejuice, it's so isn't it? There's a creep factor because it's like, yeah, Beetlejuice is like he's trying to sleep with this 16-year-old girl, and then
Yeah,
in
that's
the
weird.
the cartoon series, they're like best friends. It's like it's like this is weird.
And that's why the cartoon's better. Like it's not that whole
Takes that creep
weird
thing out.
underlying.
Yeah.
It was the 80s though,
Yeah.
If
Maeve and Molly
Maybe.
just watched. Was it Blank Check? One of
Oh,
those.
where she kisses that grown woman, kisses the boy.
Yes,
Yeah,
and they were both
90s
like,
were wild.
they're like, what did we watch? I'm like,
Think about
boy.
Big with Tom
Big.
Hanks. That's crazy in and of itself. If you
Oh,
think
yeah,
about it too hard.
And then they were like, oh, it's okay because it's a young boy, not a young girl. It's like, okay.
No, none of that's okay.
Exactly. It's not good for anybody.
No. Well, it's kind of like going back and watching the John Hughes movies. Watch 16 Candles. Great movie until you realize, ooh, this is very rapey at one point.
Well, the 80s were very rapey.
Yeah.
Blame it on the cocaine.
Oh, jeez.
Isn't that a Milli Vanilli song? So, so Sarah did not chime in. Oh, here we go. I write supernatural thrillers that take place down here in Florida. Really, because Florida isn't weird at all. Think Game of Thrones meets Buffy. I'm sure that doesn't connect with you, Lilith, at all. Weird science shower scene. Oof. Teenage Rob enjoyed that quite a bit, but after that, not so great.
Well, that sounds super interesting. So,
it is. It is, Lilith. Sarah's book.
So nowadays, writers tend to they like when they if you have deals with publishers, they tend to want you to have like a series in mind.
Okay, so Sarah is published with Four Horsemen, which I happen to know fairly well. The way they do it is they do want a series. So I don't know if they did this with you, Sarah, if they sign it and say, we want 10 books in 5 years. I think they've changed. Erica's been changing that. But they still, you got to get to at least 3 books because, yes, The Houses of Lorien Hollow. That's her book, The Houses of Lorien Hollow, and it's going to be a series. The first one is called The Soundtrack to Your Scream.
Nice.
So I know that there are authors that are struggling with the idea of getting to 10.
Yeah.
If you don't get to 3, though, you're not selling.
Now, does that have to do with like the digital book publishing, how they like to bundle and like
it's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of things. When you can go into a convention or to a bookstore or whatever, and you got a complete series of 10, you are going to sell. You are going to sell, and everybody makes money. If you come in with a trilogy, before you hit that 3rd book, a lot of times you're not selling. Now, Sarah's an anomaly. Sarah sells with 1 book. That is not as common. So, yeah, there's a lot of like science behind that that was there before I got in
really
place.
changed the publishing industry. And
yeah,
I know I have a lot of author friends and stuff, and they they talk about like I self-publish, I do this. It's anybody's game right now, honestly.
There's a lot I could tell you about that too with like self-publishing. Because we have friends that are doing that. Sarah says she has 10 books planned, 5 Houses of Lorien Hollow, followed by The Daughters of Lorien Hollow, 5 books each. Yeah, I'm way in.
That is like for me, I would just I could never imagine like sitting down and plotting out anything like that. So I shout out to all the authors who just put their love, blood, sweat, and tears into a project.
Think about TV. I know that for a lot of these, they make them pitch a minimum of 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And some of these shows
most of them don't get to 3. So.
Right. I remember listening to, do you remember that show? And it was based on a book. It wasn't called The Day After. Maybe it was.
Are you talking about The Leftovers?
Nope. Oh my God, The Leftovers.
So good, but
so good. No, it was one where there's like some kind of cataclysmic event, and then the cities are pretty much empty. and there's very few people left.
Oh, that one.
And yeah, I mean, you've heard it before.
A woman after my own heart.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, Lilith should be an award-winning writer then. Jeez.
Right. Hey, it's legal. So I can't remember the name of the show, but it was Flash Forward was the name of the show. And the first season,
the when everybody was chasing the next Lost. Yes,
Yep.
I actually love that show. I was very
So did
disappointed that
I.
didn't get a season 2. But
And
it is based on a book. Yeah.
I heard the showrunner interviewed, and he was this was on a podcast back then, and he was talking about how it might have even been the author, but when it was pitched, they had to have 5 seasons,
which is crazy because he only had one book at the time, so it's like
mapped out, and that's what he was saying. Like,
and the
well, I've got
author
one
wasn't really
book.
friendly towards the idea. He just needed the money, is how I understood that. Is why he
Mhm.
sold the rights to get
Yep.
the TV show go.
But they had to write 5 seasons, and it got canceled right away. And he's like, the amount of work to do that, he goes, it was like writing 5 books, and to have it
Mhm.
canceled, and it's gone.
Yep.
And the interest is gone. And he was like, it really sucks. And the other thing is, he said, where it went got completely nuts, but no one will ever see it.
Yep.
And that's a real shame. That's why I like publishing, where you go, hey, I can map out 10 books, and as long as I stay in there, these are getting done.
Unless you're George R.R. Martin.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Especially if it's
They
an
are.
original IP. Like I'm so like I love that show Florida Man that's on Netflix, and I just know I'm like this is destined to be a
Yeah.
one season. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's
here
not
it
like
comes.
the Netflix. You can start telling the signs nowadays, especially because they have ads, so they have to be more opaque with their ratings and stuff because of Nielsen and things like that.
Yep.
So you can tell if it's not in the top 10 for like at least 2 weeks. Like there's all these little telltale signs. I'm like, oh man, it's such a good show though, but I know it's only got one season.
Yeah, actually, when we get into the business side of things, I think that they're already the dog has caught the car when it comes to that stuff. What made Netflix so great, and what made everybody that jumped into streaming interesting, was that they weren't chasing that alone. And now they're, if you get 3 seasons on Netflix, that's kind of a miracle. Well, that's no fun for us, you know?
Yeah.
There are shows that, like, you get 1 season, I'm like, this was an amazing show. Even from the podcast standpoint, people are looking at podcasts for these shows. Archive
That's why
81.
everybody's podcasting. Buffy,
Yeah.
Supernatural, things that just have already wrapped, and B have just like at least 5 seasons. That's why everybody's doing their comfort show rewatches and things like that.
Right. And like Netflix, they did the show Archive 81, which is based on a podcast.
So good. Oh
Yeah,
my God,
and they canceled it.
devastated.
They canceled it before it even really aired. And it's like, what we should be getting from a Netflix is, we have a commitment. We're doing 3 seasons.
Yep.
Done. We are going to give you 3 seasons. And then if it has legs, you go, is it worth extending it out or whatever? This idea of it being like a regular network is what's going to ruin it, which is what ruined TV.
Yeah.
Why do they
exactly.
cancel stuff so early like that on the Netflix, where it's like, some of that stuff might take time to catch on, but
They read social
catch
media
on.
chatter to see what the buzz is about it.
And
If you're
that's
not on it,
even
but it's so dumb. So like we just watched we've been watching The Gentleman. Have you guys seen this show?
I love did you watch the movie first though?
No.
So watch
Doesn't
the movie,
matter.
then watch the TV show. The Gentleman is amazing. Shout out to Theo James and everybody.
It's
involved.
amazing, right? Well, we're
Yeah.
about halfway through. No, we're about 4 episodes in, and it is fantastic. But I don't know what the social media buzz is on it. I'm not seeing things about it. I'm like, crap.
Well, it also came out a while ago. You know how like social media moves even faster. Like every
Yep.
single day, it feels like it speeds up more and more and more. Like people have like a 30-second attention span.
Right.
So that's probably why. But if you search the hashtag, I'm sure you'll see. It got a lot of good critical reviews when it first came out and stuff.
It did, but I have a feeling it's already dead in the water, because
I don't know.
in that-
Theo
in
James just
that
says he has to show his butt
24-hour
in
window.
season 2. The girls will show up. I promise you.
I hope.
I don't know if you know about Theo James. So Theo James is notorious for he was also on like the HBO show, like what is it, The White Lotus or whatever.
Mhm.
But he also did another show on HBO called The Time Traveler's Wife, the TV show based on the book and the movie.
I
And
didn't
he
watch
showed his
it.
button every season, every single episode, and so like he has like a hardcore fan base. So all he has to say, is, "I dropped trowel," and they're gonna be there.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like this show. Get ready.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, Phil and I are going to put our heads together. There's an ass. Yeah, I originally wanted to adapt my series for a streaming series, 5 books, 5 seasons. Yeah. See, like those ideas are phenomenal. The problem is we don't control that.
Exactly.
Although, that's my goal is to control that. So eventually.
That's
Give me
Robbie's end goal, control.
Well,
Give me
this is the
time.
crazy thing, though. This is the nice thing about the only nice thing that I'll say about technology. Like, hate it or love it, people are actually launching their own like streaming platforms now. Like, all the podcasters and YouTubers are like really kind of doing that now.
Yeah.
And you can, if you have like the budget and the the testicular fortitude, if you will, to do it, because it's hard. But if
Yeah.
you build that fan base and they're interested, you can do it, and that is the nice thing about technology democratizing people's creativity and being
Absolutely.
able to be in more control. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just wish that the industry had learned its lesson. It seemed like it was in the beginning, and now it's like that's why you're getting all these mergers.
Listen, everybody laughs at Sony. Sony's like, I'm not. Listen, nobody knows about Crackle. They don't have no original programming on Crackle. They outsource
They used
all their
to.
stuff. They were like, yeah, they used to, but then they learned their lesson. They're like, we make more money. Just go ahead and licensing our like Madam Web got another set of legs on streaming.
Yeah,
on Netflix.
Unfortunately, Crackle used to have that David Faustino show. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, and isn't that
That
where
was
that
pretty
Jerry
good.
Seinfeld show came out too?
The Coffee with
comedians
Cars.
Drinking,
Yep.
Yeah. And then they
That was
sold
good
that
stuff.
and pushed it somewhere else. That's what I mean. But they were like, they kind of learned their lesson. Like, it's not really worth it when we can just produce it and then just ship it off. And that, honestly, that's where TV took a turn, where everybody's like, well, we want to like cut budget, so we only want to make shows in-house. We're not going to take it from other production houses that are not associated with. And that's kind of why ABC flopped, honestly.
Yeah.
Specifically ABC. They stopped doing that, with the exception, I think it was like a couple of shows. And then they're totally done with that. So if it's not produced by any subdivision of ABC or Disney, they don't want to do it, and that's just so unfortunate.
It is.
Narrows your corridor of talent.
It is funny to me, like talking to other people that like you guys, people that produce things and create things. It seems so obvious to us, some of these things, and it's that corporate level, and that comes down to marketing too. I just had a conversation with another marketer who really accomplished, and we were talking about almost exactly this, and about how in the corporate world you get these people that come in and some 23-year-old that all of a sudden is heading a studio or whatever, and they have all they are doing is going by what it taught them in college, how to follow the numbers, and that's it. And there's no.
It's kind of a little scary though, because marketing specifically, it changes like that. Like,
Well, that's my whole thing. I say everything is test things, try things. What worked today might not work tomorrow, and what didn't work today might be gold tomorrow. You have to just keep adapting and changing and not get like too bogged down. I mean, if you have 100 losers in a row, you might want to go,
time to fire somebody.
Do I not understand this? But other than that, I mean, try things and go outside of the box. I mean, why did Netflix hit? Number one, they figured out the blue ocean. They figured out, hey, we can stream here when nobody else was actually streaming. They figured out some things there, and they started producing original content that was different, that was getting rejected by everybody else. And it was like, wait a minute, Stranger Things should have been picked up. It was first season was great. Netflix was the only one that bit. And it was like they were willing to take that risk and sign them up for multiple seasons. They signed a deal for 3 seasons. They've extended it. But the regular networks, they were like, yeah, we're not going to do it that way. Now, look at what they're doing. They're going exactly to the way the networks did it, because you have these people. It's just like with podcasting. I'd always talk about that with advertising, with podcasting. As soon as you try to get a sponsor, the first thing out of their mouth, how many downloads? And you go, first of all, how are you going to figure out how many downloads? You tell me. I can tell you an algorithm where I can figure out roughly how many you have, but it's not like radio. It is not the same thing. Yet the people that are in the positions where they're putting the advertising in, where they're approving certain things, are coming out of marketing school where they said, here's how radio did it. Do that same thing. and it doesn't
Oof.
work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. With us relaunching Southgate Media Group, it took me 11 years to figure out what the purpose of a network is and what we can do differently, right? While at the same time keeping the spirit of what we did, keeping that like, hey, we had 3 or 4 flash shows, right? When I told you guys this last
No
time.
offense, Phil. Me and Kelly had the best one. No offense.
Well, I was kind of saddled with an anchor, so yeah, okay. I agree with that.
Hey, Luca's a great kid. You stop saying things like that about Luca.
Oh, please, I couldn't get him for that show. Come on.
No, he's way out of your
If
price
it's not
range.
sports, he don't want to do it.
Exactly.
All sports, huh? Nerd dad. So let's see. I hate that. When was trying to find a literary agent and then found out I self-published initially. The first question was how many books were sold? Right. Nothing was impressive unless it was like 10,000 copies in 6 months. You are so lame.
That is lame.
But that is so true, Sarah. And actually, that's the thing you run into is even with acting, what we've found is like Molly has auditioned for some things and she didn't get it. We know that she had a killer audition. We're like, yeah, it's touch and go. You never know what they're going to take. Could be your hair color, could be anything. But what we started figuring out is some of it is they look at your social media reach. So they're making stars because I have so many followers on TikTok.
Well, that's what happened to the music industry too.
But you can't freaking act, right? That you don't know anything, yet you're now number one because on TikTok, people like when you shake your butt or said some outrageous thing.
It's crazy. I remember like right after the pandemic, like it was Steve Lacy. Like his song had hit real big on TikTok, so people were buying tickets, and they only knew half the lyrics to one of the songs from that he got famous for TikTok for, and it was so sad. It's like real fans that you bought them all out before the real fans could do it because it was a trend. It was I want to be seen at a front row of a Steve Lacy concert.
Right. The cake is a lie.
Yes.
You are so right, Sarah.
Oh, but I do want to go back to, sorry, Phil. I do want to go back to Sarah's point when she said she wanted to adapt her series for streaming 5 books, 5 seasons. Well, babes, they only do 10 episodes, so that's just never going to happen anymore. It'll be like, if you have 5 books, it'll be 20 seasons, because like they just can't get it together anymore.
Yeah,
I miss 20 episode seasons. I miss filler. I don't know.
I don't. I
do.
Because like when we've been like, if we start to binge a regular TV show, so much is filler. I want them to tell the story in the time it should take. So that was what Netflix did originally. It could be 6 episodes. It could be 20 episodes. It was what it took to tell the story. Now it is like 12 episodes. Like they go with this formula. Everything's been the science of
8 now.
TV.
It's
and it's like
that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous.
10.
It is.
Yeah.
You're
lucky if you get 10.
Yeah. It's
like
it's
I missed
ridiculous.
like you can like this is the thing people didn't realize until it was too late. Like some of my favorite shows from like the late 2010s, they figured it out. They're like, oh, if we have 20 episodes, we'll do season 1A, season 1B, and break it up. That way we're not wasting story. But it took TV incredibly embarrassing too long to figure that out. Personally.
And it feels like they've ditched that. Have you noticed?
Yeah, that's more like the YA teen drama stuff. Like I don't think really any like actual like adult shows ever actually figured that out.
Yeah. It's very frustrating. And that's the other thing, like Sarah said exactly, I decided film might be best. Film is really interesting because so like Mike Flanagan was talking about making movies versus making TV, and he said he really liked the TV thing because he could explore little parts of the story and flesh it out as much as he could and get as much of the book or whatever in there. And somebody like him knows how to orchestrate that really well. Some of these I watch and I'm like, they don't. It's way too much filler. Or the movie cuts so much out that you're like, okay, I just got a thumbnail. It's exactly why people have like superhero fatigue right now in those types of movies. Because they're almost like a thumbnail sketch. Like over and over, you're like, I know what they're going to do. I know what's going to happen. I look at some fun CGI stuff, and then maybe it's going to tug at the heartstrings a little bit. And that's it.
Unless you're Madam Web.
Right. Then it's going to tug at your pocketbook, and you're going to go give it back. Welcome to the Madam Web podcast. I am your host, Nobody heard that. We have a that would be an ideal show for our documentary that we have called Podcasting Into the Void, because let me tell you,
There is somebody with a Madam Web podcast right now, mad as hell.
I
That's
would
going to be the next big thing, poor thing.
I would love to have them on something.
Oh,
my God, we're all in on Madam Web. I want you to explain.
that's a
So
show.
like,
You
we will
need.
not be taking any questions.
That's a show you need on the network.
No.
About you have a different guest on every week, and it's explain to me why you're podcasting about this.
Right.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like let's not get ahead. Like look at Ray. He was podcasting about Moon Knight forever before that TV show came. It paid off for him.
I'm not even saying they're
Yeah,
all
but
bad.
Moon Knight has a rich history. Madam Web.
Yeah. I'm not even saying that every topic could be bad, but just say, here, explain, maybe a lot of people don't know about this topic. Explain to me what caught your passion about this, whatever topic.
So you'd have to go through like iTunes and look for
the lowest.
Everybody that had like 4 episodes.
And it'd be like free advertising for them.
Like, I need you to explain this.
Well, they say you're lucky if you make it past 3 podcasts, right? Isn't that the rule or whatever?
Not with me, but sure. Although, we did have a few that, like I'd say, we just want 12 episodes. That's all we want. 12 episodes.
Well, remember way back in the day, Rob thought Jesse Jackson was only going to do like 5 episodes of Set Listing Bruce.
No, I gave him 10.
Over 1,000.
I was betting on 10.
And now it's over 1,000, isn't it?
Yep. That was where Maeve knew. She's like, nope, he's going to do it, and let him do this show. And I'm like, of course I'm going to let him do the show. And, but she was like, no, he's so good. He's going to figure it out. And now it's like 1,000 episodes.
Yeah. Absolutely epic.
Yep. And then we had things like Indie Game the Podcast. I used to listen to a lot of video game podcasts. We had Indie Game the Podcast, which I loved. I would listen to it and be like, oh, I am so in love with this being on our network. And they made it like 4 episodes? That's not great. And then they just kind of ghosted me, even though the weird thing is some of them were still in the network. I'm like, what? I don't understand.
On other shows.
Yeah. Like, what? They just like ghosted me. And the show was so good. And it made it like 4 episodes. The same thing happened with that Pokemon show. They were so excited when Pokemon Go came out. So we were like first.
There's a Pokemon show?
We were first in the door. The day that thing hit, like it went boom, viral, we got the podcast called PokeCast Go.
Oh, I vaguely remember that one.
They did like 3 episodes, and you should, when you listen to it, they're like, I mean, the excitement around it. I know for a fact people on that show still play it at that level, like, which I can't, we stopped, but it should have at least gotten a good solid season. People were crazy over this. They did like 3 episodes, and then it was like ghosted.
I don't think that some people don't think it through. They just think they're going to sit down, hit a button, talk into a microphone, and then just stop. And then they don't think about any of the work or even just, oh, hey, we have to have content for a good, 30 minutes or more.
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, they should have gone through any number of things I've talked about in starting a podcast.
Oh, Rob's training course. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, actually on my Substack, I've relaunched. I have a pour over marketing Substack, which I am so happy with. And then I have Mic Drop, where I just do podcasting stuff, and I'm doing one like 5 things to make your podcast like kick ass or something. And
so says Master Do.
I'm back to doing that. I did number 3, number 4, and I did something else last week, I think. And if you just follow those things, one of them is like literally that, like try to map out so that you know what you're getting into. Like, it's great to just turn on the mic and go. If you're going to do that, don't get an RSS feed right then.
Yeah.
See if you can do 2 or 3 episodes. And if you're like, this is awesome, then go. When we started Enough Said, we knew. Jack and I started talking and we're like, shit, I could do this for years. So that was an easy one. There were other ones, like I came in with yours, Lilith. I came into your Constantine podcast. Your co-host flaked out. It was like, man, that like she was not ready for this.
Yeah.
You were. That was I loved
NBC wasn't ready either, though. To be fair,
no, they screwed that up. I loved doing that podcast with you. That was so much fun. But I knew when I said I'd do it, I'm like, I know Lilith and I can talk and we're going to have fun and we're going to get a good 10, 12 episodes out of this thing. But you have to be able to do that. You have to know that somewhat. I have a podcaster, or not a podcaster, one of the authors who was all gung-ho, wanted to join our network and everything. I'm like, okay, first of all, you've never done this. You don't know anything about it. You're asking me questions about how to record that are so basic. Why don't you try first before we launch a whole thing? By the way, they're not going to be part of the network. I was not going to let them because it doesn't fit what we're doing. Doesn't mean I wouldn't take authors. It means that particular thing. I'm like, it doesn't fit. It's not going to do. I'm not an incubator, right?
Kids, that's the big headline. Rob has standards this time.
Yeah. I didn't the first time. Hi, this is Phil Parrish. Welcome to my show. And
Other than
she did record one, and we put it out there. I helped her put it out through like a source, and it was like I found it listenable. It was good. And she was like, I've mapped out a whole season. And I'm like, great. One episode so far. Doesn't have the fortitude to continue on with it. Do I wish? Yeah.
I mean, kids, you got to put, as someone who, when I came in, I knew nothing. I knew zero. That's what I'm saying. Some people have the passion, but you have to, you have to put some time, and you have to at least, I'd say step one more than anything else. You have to make sure you're going to schedule yourself time, once a week or however you're going to do it.
Whatever it is,
make a commitment
to it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, for a lot of podcasts that I've found, you'll have one person that's all gung ho, and the rest of them are like, okay, well, we're here. Like, oh yeah, this will be fun, but they're not going to send one Facebook post. They're not going to do anything beyond hopefully showing up. And that's also the wrong attitude to get into something like this. If that's what you want to do, it's a hobby podcast, and that's great. But if you're trying to actually do something, it's not going to work. It's just like if you're an author, if you're going to self-publish a book, if you're like, I'm going to be an author and I'm going to write this book, you got to have a commitment to it. And you also have to have the commitment afterwards. The people that say to me, yeah, but I don't want to do all that stuff. I'm just a writer. It's like, well, yeah, but then you're writing for yourself. No one else is ever going to see it. You have to be committed to, I will go on and be interviewed. I will let people know it's out here. I will not just leave one person to do all the work.
And again, for the original version of Southgate Media Group, you saw this. I mean, people thought they were just going to jump behind a microphone and all of a sudden they were going to get
all
famous.
The time.
It's like, no, you got to put work. You have to promote yourself. You have to do this. Yeah.
And many of them didn't. And then the other thing is, I also had this, which I talk about once in a while, because to me it was just so crazy. I can't tell you how many conversations I had with people that said, yeah, but Howard Stern does this. And I'd go,
you're not Howard Stern, baby doll.
You are not.
Howard Stern wasn't Howard Stern until quite a while into his career.
And plus he had a big radio company behind him too.
And that's like saying Joe Rogan does this. Like, babes,
you're not Joe Rogan. You're not Howard Stern.
And again, neither one of them, like Will said, were big when they started. No.
Well, and the ones that argued the Howard Stern thing, because really it was always the argument that they wanted to be unfiltered and say whatever they wanted. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't market that. The other thing is, you're saying this, but you're not looking at who Howard Stern is now. When he went over to satellite, restrictors were off. They swore, had all the talk for about a year. But he backed off within a couple of weeks. He changed what he was saying. Now you listen
and sweet advertisement money.
Now you listen, and yeah, they do a little bit of his outrageous thing because that's their brand.
Couple weeks ago, he interviewed the president.
90% of it, at least, is good interviews. Like none of that stuff. He's it used to be if he had Joe Biden on, it would have been, I have two strippers and Joe Biden on, and it would be like, what do you think of these girls? He doesn't do that now.
Well, that's the other thing. I believe he modified his model too, because if he would have did that, they never would have had the president on there. But now, yeah,
and he also
Trump maybe, but not.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Good thing he doesn't want him anymore.
Who are we talking about? Lilith, convicted felon Donald Trump.
Yes.
Bro, he's about to go. I'm sorry. Sorry to break it to you guys. They done us in with that one. They should have just said he was innocent, because that everybody's going crazy about it now.
No,
I'm
they
so
should have
sad
found
for
him
us.
guilty, and they need to keep finding him guilty.
What
And
he's gonna be running the country from the jail clink. Don't worry about it.
every year we're going to celebrate the 34th, I hope. So, yeah. So now let's get out of that miry muck. Because that was one of the things we said on our network: no sex, no politics, no swearing.
But I will.
But we
I will
allow
die on this hill. Dong is a medical term.
It is. Dork is too.
Yeah, well, that's a whale's penis. You do know how whale penises work, don't you?
Fight me, nerds.
Oh, I do. Case in point, let me describe the anatomy of the Hutts.
No, please. No, that's traumatizing.
Did you guys ever see? Did you know Jabba has a kid? Did I talk about that on here before?
I don't think so.
Jabba has a kid. It's in one of those Star Wars specials, and it's canon.
Well, there you go.
That that Jabba has a kid, and there's actually a toy of Jabba's kid. Jabba's kid's name. Anyone want to take a guess?
Jabba Jr.
Jibba.
You're never going to guess. It's Stinky.
Oh.
Want to guess what Jabba's kid looks like? A little green turd. Go look it up. Go look up the toy. It looks literally like a green turd. Why? I mean, is George Lucas 13 to approve that for your IP that's like this big to be like, I know, I have an idea. Let's give him a kid named Stinky.
Like a bootleg Slimer. Oh my God.
It's awful, right? And that's canon.
No, I refuse. Sorry.
It's awful.
That's why he sold it to Disney.
I know that people are like, and they're like, we need him back. It's like, no, we don't.
It's still better than Jar Jar Binks, though. I will die on that hill.
Oh, Stinky is? Yeah. I'd rather watch a movie with Stinky. But see, that's just it. You know, do I think George was an interesting director? Sure. I think he's better at world building.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
But then when you give him, when he has free reign and he gets into the prequels, let's be honest.
Trade talks, baby.
Yeah, not so good. And boy, if you don't know what like a boomer is going to write for sci-fi, watch those, and it will make a lot of sense.
Remember what Brian Edward Hill said about those prequels, Lilith? Like, you know, by that point, George was a rich guy. So what was he concerned with? Taxes. Yeah.
Right.
You write what you know.
Trade federations. But he made everything was like a racist archetype. Like I pointed out the other day that Watto, I go, what do you think Watto is? Oh, boy, I got the money and I got the kid and you're like, really? And they gave him the big nose and you're like, does anyone else not see this as racist? The Trade Federation guys, you go, listen to how they're talking. He made them have like Japanese gibberish. It's like that. And then Jar Jar is, you know, step and fetch it. And you're like, whoa, man.
Yeah, I was so upset. People don't understand.
I understand. I was all of it.
It's like, what makes it worse though is like when you're a Harry Potter fan and you get to the goblins in the bank, you're just like, it was there the whole time. We just refused to see it. Like, oh, it's so annoying.
It's
gobble
awful.
gobble.
It's awful.
It's like, how do people keep getting away with it?
I don't know. Well, I think that in general, like
certain people, maybe people watching the gate, it flies over their head.
Yeah,
maybe.
it flies
doesn't fly over their heads though. A lot of
or they're just so used to it that they're numb to it. And it's like, well, no, that's not what it is. Because when I was having this conversation the other day, the people I was talking to, like, they didn't see any of that until I had to keep saying it. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Watto is. I'm like, yes. Look at all the archetype.
We were raised on Blazing Saddles. These kids today, they'd go into a coma watching Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, well, when we showed Molly Blazing Saddles and she was very young, like I was questioning it, but maybe it's like, no, she should watch it. What did she do? We saw it at a drive-in theater. She was really young. I was like, oh boy. So I knew we were going to have a conversation about it. What did she say when we got in the car? She said, we said, okay, let's talk about some of the things that were in this. That's racist or whatever. And she said, well, he was making it to make fun of all the racism.
Exactly.
She
Goes
knew
over their heads.
exactly what was going on there.
Yeah.
And how ridiculous. That was exactly what Mel Brooks was doing, which is why
Yep.
Mel Brooks, who did he co-write it with? Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
And Richard Pryor was like, they were going straight at it. But then a lot of people see it and they're like, oh, yeah. Because
it's like when you meet a racist Star Trek fan, it's like, okay, you missed the point. Clearly.
You missed the point.
Well, again, yeah,
swing
that's
and
what
a
I
miss.
said. That's the dangerous thing about like stuff like Blazing Saddles, even like Archie Bunker. It's like, yeah, some people don't get the joke and they're just like, oh yeah, this is good, and it's like they completely miss the point.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's dangerous because that's when we don't get things made. Now, Archie
Yeah.
Bunker is an interesting one because when I was a kid and that was such a big show, I remember like my parents' friends and all that. It was all like they knew Archie is a racist piece of garbage. They all identified with Mike Stivic, which is pretty bad too because he ended up being a bad guy. But they were like, oh my God, this is our parents. He's racist and blah blah blah, and it's so bad. Yet 2016, let me bring you back in time to when our older generation generally turned in to Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
They gripped onto that thing, and then I remember being around some of them, and they were laughing, and they were quoting Archie Bunker like, "Isn't this funny?" And I'm like, back then you knew this was racist and not funny, and now you're saying it's funny, but I think you think it a different way. So I actually find it hard to watch those shows because of that, because I know how misinterpreted the stuff is. That show was not designed to make him the hero. He was the bad guy. You know? But yeah, it does make you cringe now. But I also am not one of these like, we have to be woke and it all has to go away. It's like, no, we have to get back to where people understand.
What everybody needs to watch? It's the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls it's still probably the quote unquote wokest show you'll ever watch. Not even joking.
Unless
if you you love Golden Girls, we're gonna lock in instantly.
Unless there's a little person on it, because that was not exactly woke. You know that episode, right? It's the only episode I've seen, actually.
What?
Yeah, I didn't watch Golden Girls. I'm not your generation where they think it's funny. I've watched it. I'm just like,
I was like a little child and I was obsessed with the Golden Girls.
Yeah, well, sure.
She was watching TV with her grandma, okay?
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking. I watch Matlock, babes. So
there you go.
Walker, Texas Ranger, like old people stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my parents were all watching that stuff, and I tried. Like I know people love the Golden Girls, and I watch it. I'm like, it's not my kind of comedy. I don't really.
Rob's like, I'm gonna go upstairs and read some raw.
Some really crazy underlying messages that go over a lot of people's.
I know it does. I know it does, but you have to weed through the other stuff, which doesn't do anything for me. That's how it is. It's like I remember when Curb Your Enthusiasm came out, and our niece and nephew did not want to watch it. They're like, it's all like underlying racism and all this. And I'm like, you are not watching the same show we're watching.
I got Phil to watch it, and he's like in love.
I just like what? 2?
How long did it take you? Like a month or something?
Something. I binged it. Yeah. Anytime I had a chance, I'm like, put it on.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
It is hard to watch. You get into the later seasons, and Larry himself in real life, because of the success, is definitely out of touch. So the way they spend money and act towards like having money is out of touch, and it makes it kind of hard to watch where you're like, you're a little elitist about stuff. But it's not like baked in like it's supposed to be a joke. It's just there's a tone, and I go, that's what happens with success sometimes. But the bra sniffing dog might be the funniest thing I've ever seen on a show. I mean, and the cook, the chef with Tourette's. Holy cow! The Seinfeld season, hilarious.
I love that
Watching Larry step in to play George, and you're like, oh, yep, he's clearly George in real life.
Well, that's what I told Lilith. That's what I told Lilith all through this show. I'd be like, he'd say or do something. I'd be like, oh yeah, I see why. Yeah, this stanza. Yeah.
Okay, there's a podcast, Jeff Garland, who is also problematic, it turns out.
Oh, I did see they were promoting that on Max as I was watching it. Yeah, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Jeff Garlin has a podcast that was called In Conversation with Jeff Garlin. The first episode, it only made it a few episodes. It was on Earwolf. Okay. The first episode, though, he did like a live interview with people. And after the first episode, I was like, it was okay. But the first episode, he has Larry on. It's fantastic. Because he's just Larry David. He's not Larry David the character. But guess what? He's Larry David the character very much. Jeff tells this great story about how Larry has never... Jeff shoots a lot of pictures. He loves cameras. Larry says, I've never shot a picture in my life. And his description is so much Larry David from the show, but he is dead serious. He's like, I don't see a reason why you'd shoot it with a picture. I don't understand. Why? What do you need all those pictures around? What do you need all the pictures? And he goes on and on. And Jeff Garland's just laughing. He's like, guys, this is real. He said, I handed him a camera one time and he looked at me like I was insane. Why would you ever shoot a picture? It's the funniest damn thing. And I think in the episode, if I remember right, he does take a picture of the audience and he's like, first picture ever. And he's like, what am I going to do with it? Hey, you can have it. I don't know. I don't get it. It's the funniest damn thing. That's what I loved. Jeff Garlin was funny on the show, but he's, as we know, problematic. He was a real problem on that, whatever that 70s show or 80s show was. What is Sarah saying here? The one that Alil loved. Alil loved that show.
Was it on ABC or something?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know.
It had the fun song. Yeah, get the bit inside. Gotta rewind.
Oh, is it like the Goldbergs? That one?
Yeah, the Goldbergs. That's what Jeff Garlin was on. And the first season was kind of funny, but it was very sitcom-y to me. After that, it gets more and more sitcom-y, and it's like... I watch The Rifleman frequently, and in my books, my protagonist, Joan, identifies with Lucas McCain as her dad let her watch it growing up. That's awesome. She grew into a gunslinging heroine who watches the show now for comfort. I love this. I love this so much, Sarah. Chuck Connors was wonderful in that show, and I wanted to bring that steadfast personality to my character as someone she could look up to. I'm not sure where that thought came from, but here you go. You know what? Actually, it's funny because my dad watches all those old Westerns, and they're really just the same goddamn story over and over.
Yeah, mine too.
But I like the premise of those shows, and I can see how there's almost like a comforting thing, you know. And The Rifleman was actually pretty cool. There's another one that when I'm over there and I'll catch, it's cool like that. Is it Have Gun Will Travel? When he watches stuff like Bonanza and what's that other one? The one that ran for like 25 years. Not
Gunsmoke?
Bonanza. Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Gunsmoke's can be interesting, but it's like, come on, man. The Wild West didn't last 25 seasons. You know, it's...
You've got dysentery.
Well, again, I will get again. They said, you know, the MASH TV show lasted way longer than the actual Korean War did.
They should have ended... what was the hell the name of that show again? Maverick? No, Gunsmoke. They should have ended Gunsmoke with all of them with like crippling syphilis or dead.
Of course.
Then it would have been real.
Everybody loves Deadwood.
Yeah,
They knew when to let go.
That's right. Yeah, what one did you just say, Phil?
MASH.
MASH. So Chris was a huge MASH fan. When we did Trivia Mayhem, I actually, because I would play, I would have 20 different trivia games, and we'd roll a 20-sided die, and whatever you got, you had to answer the questions on the card. Lots of fun. I found a way to make it so that I would win. So I'd always get lots of booze. Yes, it was awesome. But I did get the MASH card game and put it in there. So every once in a while we get a random MASH. Chris would be like, "Bah!" And yeah, he got shamed because this guy who knew all this MASH trivia, when it came time and it was like Chris against the audience on MASH, he choked.
Really?
It was a baby.
It's like, what are these questions? Yeah. Oh my God. Lilith, do you know how often I've made that joke and nobody gets what I'm saying?
Bro, I was watching Family Guy and nobody got that joke. I was so mad. I'm like, you were not raised right. If you didn't watch MASH after the 10 o'clock news, you were not, to try to stay up late.
Yep.
You were not raised right.
You know, I was thinking about MASH yesterday because I saw some meme about it or something. And I thought, it really is, it's a crime that it happened when it did, when they were still throwing laugh tracks on.
Oh, yeah.
Because that show, if it was done now and it was a streaming show, would be, I mean, you think it's a classic, but then you're like, yeah, but is it relevant now? Do people really watch it now? like new people aren't falling into MASH. If they did it on like HBO with that cast without the laugh track, that show would be huge because it
Don't
was.
give Alan Alda any ideas.
Yeah, well, no. And you know what's funny? You ever watch the movie, the Robert Altman movie?
Mm-mm.
That's what this TV series came off of. It was a movie.
Mhm.
And the movie is fantastic, but there's no laugh track. And it is definitely more it's more like it's funny, but it's serious. Like he gets the tone right. And that's when the show was its best, when it got that tone right. You know? I used to love that show though. When we had our store, we would be down super early in the morning, but at like 5:30 in the morning, they showed MASH. So while I had breakfast every day, I'd sit and watch MASH. And it was so much fun to rewatch it. It was such a well-written show.
Shout out to the days when we only had 4 TV stations.
Yeah, right. Well, now I get up, at these ridiculous times, and I have to watch. I watch Bar Rescue on Paramount, which is a terrible app.
Kill someone.
It is a terrible app, by the way.
It truly is. It truly is.
But I watch Bar Rescue because everything that's on TV at that time is just garbage. Like I'm like, at least show like some old sitcom. Like something that you might go, oh, I'll watch MASH. It's none of it's there. It's a wasteland. It's infomercials, politics, news that you don't want to watch.
Yeah, like if you flip, you might find like
I
a
don't find
old
anything.
sitcom, but yeah, no.
I don't find anything ever. And I'm like, what is
so much
wrong
for
with this?
WGN being a superstation?
Well, WGN Morning News is the only thing that you might stay on for a minute. And even then, it's like, it's the news.
Oh my God. I
Over
remember like
it.
back in the 90s, like we got like WGN through our cable, and like the afternoon I would come home from school, they'd rerun Bill Bixby's Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, WGN.
Everybody knows
kid,
CBS is the superior superstation. Go Atlanta Hawks and all
back
that.
then in the early cable days. Oh yeah, it was all about TBS. And then remember when they tried to bring WOR to be a superstation, and it was like the programming was really weird. It was like, what are they showing?
Who's this for?
No, yeah, like you turn it on at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. You're a kid, right? And it's like 6 before school, and Morton Downey Jr. is on, and you're like, at 6 a.m. This guy with these big face warts and cigarettes like crazy, yelling at transvestites. This is what they show at 6 a.m.
I know. At least around here they aired it at night. Jeez,
that was weird, man. But WGN, when I was a kid, that was where the magic happened, because that was where they did the 4 o'clock movie. That was where, like, I'd come home and it would be Ape Week, and dude, to hell with homework. You got 5 days of Planet of the Apes. You got 5 days of Universal Monsters. You got 5 days. It was like crack. I loved it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about documentaries. I was going to say.
And then in the summer, it turned to hell because they would show the Cubs games, and you'd be like, "When is this baseball thing going to be over?" Because
jokes on you, baseball never ends.
I need my apes.
163 games.
Oh, and then Channel 32, which is what became Fox 32, was the other one, and they would pick up the slack because when you'd come home from school before the 4 o'clock movie, Three Stooges, it would be like, this is awesome. So really, I just stopped going to school altogether because I could watch these amazing things. And it led me to an MBA. So kids, there's the lesson for you. Watch TV.
Well, there's nothing for the kids to watch anymore except for SVU, Chicago Fire, and Abbott Elementary.
Well, and yeah, and then the cartoon stuff, like it's crazy. The cartoons.
You gotta go search that out too.
The government killed cartoons, so
all these cartoons. If I flip by Cartoon Network, they all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just loud, and there's stuff that I go, yeah, and I go, well, there's not really a story to this. It's just loud, and there'll be jokes that I go, okay, when Looney Tunes did the jokes that were kind of for the adults, it went over our heads, but they weren't really for adults. I'll see things once in a while, and you'll be like, holy cow, that was a filthy joke. Like, I wouldn't allow that on our network because that is beyond filthy, and it's like in the middle of some little kid's cartoon. Bluey doesn't do it, though. Bluey, all hail Bluey. Bluey doesn't do it.
My dogs agree.
Yep.
They love watching Bluey.
Yep. That for a kids show, they get some topics in there. It's great. Like that one, they get it right. The rest of them, what the hell? What the hell?
I know, man. That thing blew up because I remember
Bluey?
watching that. Like,
It blew it up.
Yeah, I remember when I was on TikTok and like I'm like, what the hell is
Like,
Bluey?
even
And,
adults
why
are,
are
like, talking
adults
about-
watching Bluey?
Yeah, even
And
adults,
that's
'cause
what-
I know. Like, I caught that like that Luca was like the tail end of him like growing out into Disney Channel. I'm just like, what the? It's a good show, but I'm just like, man, all these adults are
People
flocking to
doing
Bluey.
deep dive lore on Bluey that are like 50. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Yeah, it's a good thing it wasn't on Nickelodeon because now we'd be into feet
Oh.
videos. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you watch that whole documentary?
I didn't see that last episode, the
That
one they
only
did
scratched
afterwards.
the tip of the
Oh.
iceberg. Like they didn't talk to Amanda Bynes, who got the thick of it clearly.
Oh,
So,
I don't think she wanted to talk, which I don't
yeah,
blame her.
I don't think she needs to talk. We need to leave Amanda Bynes alone. It's not
Yes,
working
I
for
am
her.
so disturbed by the videos of Ariana Grande in that.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like,
Oh, Sam and Cat always gave me bad vibes. Shout out to Jeanette
Wow.
McGurdy too. Like I always knew something was off there too.
Woo. But that video where they're like, this was like a video blog he did where she's like doing feet with stuff with her feet, and then they're like jamming a potato, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are they doing?
Or they'd like find some excuse that all these kids get sprayed in the face with stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, and not funny.
No.
On Double Dare,
Not
when
funny,
they
haha.
slimed him-
Funny, weird.
yeah, when they slimed him on Double Dare, it was funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a shoot in the face. It was like, but it was like,
Yeah.
And Mark Summers, not
Oh,
part of
no.
that.
No.
Definitely not.
And I'm like, oh man, you were in the car with the wrong people, dude. You didn't know it. Yeah, so who knows? Well, we won't have any of those documentaries coming out of Southgate Media Group unless they deep dive on Phil. They better not deep dive on a Lil. Well, I should say Disney already did. That's
yeah,
why
I was
he's
gonna say.
that's why he's been clamped down. There is
We
there
need
is
a we need a Charlie Esser documentary. That's
Well,
right. Yes.
I mean, we have enough footage. Honestly.
Oh yeah,
we have enough audio. I mean,
oh yes. Well, you know what? I have a hard drive full of our documentary right here. We could
super
flip it over and
connectivity.
get a little bit of Charlie in there.
So when are you gonna?
That's gonna be a
get
ways
that thing
off.
out there.
That's gonna be a
Okay.
ways off. We have so much footage, and it's all from we did it from the Women in Podcasting Festival and from I think 2 different marathons, plus we have the YouTube footage, and then we have the C2E2 event we did. We started going, and we have interviews that are really, really good. And we started looking at the stuff, and we're like, shit, these interviews are like a half hour each. And we wanted to chop them up, yet like watching them are so good. We're like, we're going to get one sentence out of this thing? I don't think that's going to work. So we've got plans for it at some point, making like a web series that has more of the extended interview stuff and shows a little bit of the live performances. We wanted to do one that was almost all the live performances chopped up with minor interview things in between. There's just lots of ways to slice this, but we have like over 40 hours of footage.
I can't wait to see a special, and then the 10-hour Rob Southgate director's cut.
I'm barely in it
With
too.
commentary.
I'm barely in it. In fact, I tried to get them to not mention me because, like, when they're doing the interviews and they're one of our events, they're like, "Oh, and Rob Southgate," and I'm like, "I don't want me mentioned in it." Just like the book, this isn't about me. We need to keep that on the side. I let Phil talk about me in his, but I think I called you and was like, you shouldn't be writing about me. It doesn't need to be here.
Yeah.
But I let it stay.
Well, some of it was kind of funny too, because I remember when I started podcasting with Zach, and I was like, "Who is this Rob guy?
Yeah.
Why is he throwing in input?"
Well, there were people that even when we were ending the first iteration had never talked to me, didn't know who I was, didn't know anything. And it was, to me, that was very weird. It was like, yeah, but I'm writing to you guys on these things.
Yeah.
Oh, you're ignoring it. It's like, oh, interesting. And then some of them, my favorite were right towards the end. There was somebody that I talked to, and I can't remember who it was. It was like they were all intimidated. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I turned into that guy from I Think You Should Leave. What? I just kept saying that because I'm like, They were all intimidated. Like, yeah, but you're the big boss and you've been doing this. I'm like, no, I'm exactly like you. I just happen to pay for the feeds. That's it.
You have the boss robe on.
Yeah, it was so weird, man. People that didn't talk to me, and then you find that out, it's like, that's just really weird. But
But
you
no,
know,
honestly, no joke. I mean, there needs to be a Southgate Media Group documentary.
it's going to be tough to put together. We don't have footage. We have the live footage, which is not all of us. And you try to herd those cats to try to get an interview.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I actually thought about doing one.
it's gonna be
Doing
like
a
everything else. The whole documentary is gonna be Rob talking, then me talking, then Jesse Jackson talking.
right, and then Lilith as a cartoon avatar.
Yes,
Exactly.
But seriously, like, I did think about doing a 4-part series on it, because it's not about Southgate Media Group. It's about this was 11 years ago, the kind of the dawn of this kind of podcasting, and there are so many firsts that we did. And I thought that would be really interesting to kind of hear, like, I want to hear the stories, just like Pod Life. I want to hear the stories of the podcasters and like what it's done for them. You know, I mean, Phil was not doing this
No.
when you came aboard, and look at your life now. Look at Lilith. I mean, Lilith, you were dealing with people that were treating you like shit, and then you come over here, and it's like, you're on a pedestal with us, you know? And here we are years later, still having conversations, still enjoying each other, still having fun. Jack, when he started, I mean, he has a crazy story, and it ends up with him getting a doctorate. Jack, who was out here yesterday.
Dr. Jack.
I mean, me,
Aw.
somebody was asking about what I do. Like, because, my resume is like a million things. And I said, after I said it, and I said something, it was a guy the other night, and I said, and I own this podcast network, and he was like, oh, podcasting, is that fun? And I said, you want to hear the craziest part? Everything right now is the result of starting that podcast network with Maeve 11 years ago. Everything, other than Molly was born before it. But really, everything is a result of that. And that is quite a journey. It's pretty crazy. So I do think that a documentary version of some sort would be really interesting. I just think it's going to be really, really hard. I mean, when we did Pod Life, the author, the people that wrote things, everyone writes a chapter. So I reach out to them and I'm like, hey, can we get, I need you to sign your release. The only ones that I had to fight tooth and nail to get releases were our people.
Really?
In fact, one of them never signed it. And I just put the book out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it out, because they sent it to me and they said they wanted me to do it. And if there's a problem, but when we get it published by an actual publisher, I have to cut their whole chapter out.
Oh, yeah.
Because they wouldn't be bothered to answer that question. So making a documentary, it is, Phil, it's going to be the same 6 people.
Yeah.
And that sucks, man. Even though they're not bad people.
Yeah.
I know that most of them would be like, oh my God, I'd love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's schedule a time. Crickets. I'd love to hear where their lives are now and what's happened and what their experience was with this. I mean, look at
Yeah, it was
Jesse.
great hearing from Kristen. The last time we did this, she popped in.
I talked to Kristen the other day. It was fantastic. It was so fun to talk to Kristen. And like Dawn, I haven't talked to Dawn since back then. How great would that be? She was critical in that. I would make Phil and Zach do an interview together.
Oh my God.
That now we're talking a show I want to see.
Talk about the Morton Downey Jr. show. Jeez.
Yeah, it'd be quite interesting.
I'd do it.
I think there's only 3 people in my rogues gallery, and only one of them I would not invite in to talk.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Because they just, it's the one that you were with, Lilith. She did like a couple episodes and was not really, I mean, she went and did it at another network, and I was like, what?
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah. And it was terrible, by the way. But I'm like, you just ghosted us. You took what you wanted out of us. And I think she was actually taking what she learned from us and was telling them. So I think she was a plant. I'm like, I don't get why anyone would have a plant. I will tell anybody anything.
Well, you know, back in the day, like when people like were podcasting and they had they would just lie. They
Oh
would
yeah.
give bad advice. It was like so many bad actors, and that's just, ugh.
Yep. And there were people that I'm friends with now that back then told me very incorrect information, and I
You
really
hope it's
believe
just them not.
I really believe they just didn't know, and you know, when you're doing it, you think you have a perspective on how things work, so you give your advice, and it's like, yeah, you didn't know it was bad advice. I don't think it was malicious, but then there were people it was malicious.
Yeah, I
know?
mean, you can learn all of Rob's secrets for the price of a cup of coffee.
Oh yeah,
a bag of your finest roasted Colombian coffee, please.
Finest $1.50 cup. I'll
Give me the
spill.
sludge.
I'll spill. Yeah, so I think that would be interesting. It's just one of those projects that might have to go on the back burner. But Phil, if
Yeah.
you want to do something like that, we can talk about it.
I mean, yeah,
I think it would be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, what'd be really interesting is to actually extend outward a little bit, like do the story. Boy, this could be interesting.
Here's the story.
And reach out, because there are people that were not part of our network that were very much part of my network. You know what I mean? Like Troy and Aaron and those guys, they're guys that ended up doing a lot of the live events we did. To them, like, they had me on their shows a lot. They felt like they were part of the network, but they were never part of our network. It'd be interesting to hear them, and like award-winning podcasts and that have a lot to say about what we did. That would be pretty interesting. That could be very interesting. I just don't want it to be about me. That would really piss me off.
No. Just kind of like, you know, see what you spawned. Because again, at the end of the day,
the title should be Deranged Proteges. Absolutely.
What have I wrought? That would be the name of it.
Oh, fancy.
Although then it would be about me. I can't do that. How about is my mic on? Do that.
Southgate meeting.
I can't get my headphones to work. We could do that.
Oh yeah, you cut out every time after between interviews, you just cut the Rob, and he's like, "Is this on? Is this on?" Yeah.
We could call it Essers Messers and do Charlie. It would be kind of fun to do. It would be kind of fun to have a little archival footage and talk about some of the people that have passed away that have been with us.
Yeah.
We could talk about some of the babies that have been born during our time. That would be interesting. I mean, it has been, maybe since we're at the 11th year, it might be time to assemble something out of the like first 11 years before SMG 2.0. It ends with 2.0 being relaunched.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is an interesting project.
Maeve's gonna kill us, Phil.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta make money before I do this.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, he wasn't born, but when I started this, Luca was 1, now he's 11.
Yeah.
That's why I said he does not remember a time I wasn't.
Wait a minute, Phil. Was he born? I thought he was born right after you started.
No. He was born in 2013, and I started in 2014. No, it was Tyler, I think, who.
Tyler's kids were born.
Yes, I think. Yeah, Solo was born right, like not too long after Tyler started. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, and like even the reach, like having the people overseas, like Ricky and. You know, like, did you see Ricky was saying he wanted to talk to you about doing a Heroes thing on the new network?
That was actually, Ricky is such a great podcast partner. Like, really, truly, he's such a passion. I miss working with him. He's so great.
Do you guys remember when we had the partnership with the SRTV?
Loves TV,
yeah.
Blair and
That was one of those really interesting things where if it was now, I would have taken it over, as you know. Because they had, that's where Blair and those guys, that whole group came from. They started that thing. They were doing this thing. It was very cool. They burned it to the ground and changed the name and everything. They were pivoting. That's where I would have taken over. But I didn't have the savvy. Now I would say we're going to partner, and I can help you do this. And eventually, as they died off, I'd be in charge of it. That's what's happened to me.
Says Master Do.
That's just what's happened a lot with things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm great. I'm saying no. When I see the vision, I will not give up.
Yeah. Clearly, he won't give up, folks.
That's one that I would have taken over if I could have. But that was an interesting partnership, you know.
Yeah.
And if I were to do that again,
Morel's comfy sweater.
loved it, right? Right? And the SRTV Roundtable, them doing those pilots, that was really a good show.
Mhm.
You know, that was, and you don't even know so many of those people that came from that ended up on our other shows and doing other stuff. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. We let one of them in on Under the Dome, which was just Maeve and I, and on the third season we let
That thing went to 3 seasons.
mhm. And we let the other one in, and she just, because she just laughed through the whole thing, and she had great insight, but she was just like, "This show is hilarious." And then Orange Is the New Black, we brought Meg in, who was from that group. And then yeah, and there was Blair, and there was Trey. Was that his name?
And you know what? Blair was such a personality. I couldn't even.
Blair was amazing. Well, you remember the chapter, Blair's chapter in the book, though, right?
Yep.
Did you ever read it? Where she talked about how she was quitting?
Yeah.
That's just, she was quitting, and then I said, no, what?
Wasn't it Olivia?
Olivia! Mavis here saying, it was Olivia. Oh, my God, we loved Olivia.
Kyle was the one that hosted.
Kyle! Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, Maeve, they came up with a project.
No!
It's not my
No,
fault.
don't tell her. She's going to be mad.
No, as I say,
I
she's
said
no.
no.
I have a project. No.
But Lilith and Phil are forcing me.
Yeah, I put Lilith's name.
Yeah,
first.
we're on right now. They want to do, so don't come over here. She's braless. She's a great
I'm
part.
not. I didn't have my shoes on.
Okay, that's some YouTube numbers.
It's great when people are off camera. You know, I tend to screw with them on things. No, they want us to make.
You usually like to screw me on camera.
Oh, hello. Good thing this isn't on our network. Oh, now Molly's here too. I have just become the third best Southgate in the room.
Wait, are the cats in there? Because you might even be lower.
We only have one cat now. Yeah, she's in too. So I'm fourth best Southgate. No, they want us to make a documentary version about Southgate Media Group that ends with SMG 2.0.
Again, tell her it's good promotion.
Look at them. They're just like, yeah.
already
No,
did.
we didn't film it.
Molly directs it. Okay.
Oh,
You
yes.
direct it.
Okay.
Now, is it audio or is it video? Because we don't have that much video content to do that. Well,
We had only like every. We only
have
live at the
1,000
Blue Box.
hours of video content.
I don't know. We're not comfortable on camera or talking in front of an audience.
I'll give you footage from YouTube,
Yes.
from my YouTube channel.
Lilith, this is for you. That's Bernie.
Oh.
Look at this tail.
I thought maybe he called him
She's
Stink.
got a broken
Gee.
pigtail. Okay.
Is she part Maine Cooner?
She is. And she weighs about, what, 5 pounds? Yeah, she's all fur.
She's a little fluff ball.
Yes, she is a big fluff ball. And she looks big on camera because of the way I'm holding her, but she is tiny. And she's got.
Now there's where
She
our
likes to be
numbers
held
come
by a
from.
baby,
You have to
and-
have the cat now. It's mandatory. The cat
She
is
has
your
a-
co-host.
She has a pink collar.
Oh, that's right. Every episode, Rob has to hold
Right?
the cat and pet it like he's a Bond villain. Yeah.
And
Yes.
she talks all. Oh, I could do. Yes, for the 10th anniversary of Southgate Media Group. This is my kitty.
How about new?
It's okay if you're mean to me, but it's quite another thing if you're mean to Bernie.
How about new?
I'm almost
Okay,
bald enough to be
officially
Dr. Evil.
the fans of the show were Bernie Bros.
Oh, crap. Molly has a recital. We got to go.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for watching, everybody. Love you, and I'll get to work on this thing eventually.
All
All right.
right.
Have a good one.
Bye,
Break the
guys.
leg.
Bye, Robert. I say we promote ourselves and get out of here. All right.
Yeah. Drop the links. Let's go.
And if you have a project for Robert Southgate, you can email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. You can catch all of our episodes, social media, merchandise. We have new merchandise.
Now with more ampersand.
That's right. Cash App link. We have a Patreon where we get crazy and uncensored. So yeah, find all of that at tubespace.ao/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.ao/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network.
More vicious and brutal than ever.
Please out of here, Phil.
All right. This could be weird playing the song without him sitting here. This is the quietest any episode of Third Southgate has ever been. But no, man, I'm excited. No,
We planted the seed. Now
I
let us
did-
watch
I-
it manifest,
I hope
Philip.
this documentary comes to pass. But no, I was saying that when he goes, oh yeah, they gave me an idea for a new project. Okay, for me, just like no. But no, that would be interesting.
Oh, Lilith made me.
Exactly. The Cape Lunatics model. Little fault. But yeah, that'd be interesting if Molly interacts. Yeah. All right, so yeah, kids, right into Rob. Tell me what's that documentary.
See you next month, bunkies.